Good afternoon. Welcome back. It is Thursday, March 9th, 2023. About a third of the way through the month. And we've got a few birthdays here to celebrate. Let me double check my list here, make sure I haven't skipped over anybody. And we haven't. So a couple of events. Really, this was a really light day in terms of the particular date for racing. On this date, 1980, excuse me, Cale Yarborough wins the 500 miler at Rockingham. 1997, at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Dale Jarrett wins the final race on the oval configuration. I recommend you go back and watch that. Morgan Shepherd had a strong car. One of the last races at Morgan was really ever a contender to win. Plus, it had a horrible crash on the backstretch involving Steve Grissom, among others. Steve Grissom was just the most notable because of the brutality of how hard he hit a particular exposed wall. The following year, 1998, Atlanta, the first spring race on the new configuration. And just kind of scrolling down, there was a few Cup races and Xfinity races, but nothing of note. The last Cup race on this date was in 2014 at Las Vegas, won by Brad Keselowski. But again, nothing that really stands out as super big events. A few non-card birthdays that we have on today's date. Born on this date, 1937, road racing great Brian Redman. 1945, born on this date, Jim Thurkettle. Born on this date in 1962, former NASCAR journeyman part-time driver Jerry Bowman, as well as Ronnie Hopkins, son of the legendary car builder Ronnie Hopkins. Because Ronnie did make a few starts, and then I think he kind of continued into the car building business, but he did have a brief run in 1983 in the Cup Series to try to run for Rookie of the Year, and that was a really failed attempt. So we do have two birthdays that I do have some cards of. The first one, born on this date in 1955. I only have one card of this fella. Former Indy 500 pole sitter and Rookie of the Year, former Formula One driver. He kind of hopped back and forth between both series, Mr. Teo Fabi. Of course, during this time, he was driving for Jim Hall and Hall VDS Racing. He did race the Forsyth number 33 IndyCar. That was the one that he had the most success in, winning some races and poles in 1983, finishing runner-up in the points that year. But he hopped back and forth between IndyCar and Formula One. I believe Formula One's where he always wanted to be, and he would just run IndyCar to stay relevant and stay active. His biggest successes in F1 came with the Benetton team in the late 80s. I don't really remember him having much success elsewhere. He scored points, but I don't really remember him getting many podiums. It was always a fast car, but the cars were unreliable back then. Born on this date 5 years earlier in 1950, speaking of Indy 500 and Formula One drivers, this guy ran a few Formula One races in the early 80s. He won an Indy 500, and he made one NASCAR start in the mid-90s. If you guess Mr. Spin and Win, Danny Sullivan, you are correct. Of course, we have a Legends and Indy Up in Smoke. Starting him off, blown engine there. But you have I believe this is Pat Patrick's team that he was driving for at the time. Let's flip it over and see if it tells us. It does not tell us the owner, but I'm pretty sure that was when he was driving for Pat Patrick. This was during his Penske days, the Miller American Special. There he is with the Borg Warner Trophy. That'd be a nice one to get signed. And there he is once again with the Miller colors. He had successful runs. He is the 1988 CART PPG champion, driving for Penske. Then he kind of fell on some hard times as far as finding competitive rides. He went over to the Pat Patrick team for a bit. I believe he ran with that Gallus Craco team that kind of formed up. He did drive the Shearson. Prior to his Penske days, he was with the Doug Shearson Domino's Pizza team. Won his first few races there. Proved to be really competitive. Yeah, there's the Gallus Craco car. Do we have a picture of the car on the back? Yes, we do. And then this is his NASCAR car. It's called the Corporate Car of Indianapolis. And there you see some sponsors, some local and national sponsors that come on board with that team. I can't remember who the owner was. right off the top of my head. But his car caused the first caution, and if you look carefully, the right side window is missing out of that car. The window actually blew out of the car early in the race, caused a caution. Of course, he had to come and get a replacement because it was a rule you have to run a right side window. But Danny is in the record books of being one of the 40... How many did they have? 43 starters in the inaugural Brickyard? Maybe 44? I don't recall exactly because it was a combination NASCAR Cup Series race and Winston West Series race. So Mike Chase was the lone Winston West qualifier because he did get a provisional for that spot. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, like going into some of these different series, finding some of these guys' cards that I forgot that I had. It's always cool to kind of go down that the proverbial memory lane and remember some of these drivers from my childhood and early teen years. So anyway, thanks again for watching. As always, make sure you come back tomorrow. We'll have something to rip for you. Hopefully we can pull some good stuff. We haven't been doing too bad lately. You know, we pulled the 101 about a week or so ago. We pulled some autographs and some relics and so on and so forth. Plus, we had the flea market finds from last week as well. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We will see you tomorrow.